Good morning and welcome to the Crypto Day Morning. Today's date comes in that of Thursday, the 14th of February 2019. All bets trades of the like within each his own risk and their own reward. Day number 6 since the up day, and I guess day number 3 since correcting amongst this 18 average, grinding its way lower. And a lot of it's just a wait and see. This is a type of correctionary move that can take place in 1 day and it can take place in 6 days. And well, so far that has been the case, the slowly moving over. One of the steps in reverting the trends is establishing a level of resistance above the 18 average highs after preceding a downtrend, having a correctionary phase as it is doing such, and then significantly breaking above. And doing so would be around 37 high change. And in such, I'd be looking for that to, even though it's a level of resistance in here, most likely come up breaking 4,000 and probably even going to 41 as its next level. If we continue to go further, if we continue grinding its way, it may take about 5 or 6 days to get all the way down to 3460, and that's not really a surprise if it does it. But if there's any decent size fall, this is really the key area. It matches up within this 18 average of lows, and it's really the must hold for this, because if you see after a downtrend that you have a breakout like this and it ultimately fails, and the 18 low and previous resistance is going to tell me the place where it would be from, then you'd be looking for a significant breakdown below this low. And the last previous support number is 31. We can see that via the weekly, but before going to the weekly, let's take a look at the 4-hour. And that just shows the downtrend. As we can see in here, there's support and then resistance somewhere in the same area as well. So now moving on to that weekly chart, a lot of sideways consolidation, upper resistance at 42, lower support at about 31, and it's in the middle of the range. Indecision for this sideways move, and the 4100 is now going to coincide with the 18 average of highs, needing to get above that just to attempt to revert this current longer term downtrend. And on the monthly term time frame, it recently broke down below the sideways correctionary lows, and thus when we finish off the Bitcoin analysis, a lot of this is similar to how it looked down in here. As we can see that this is day or period number 3 since the big move down, and period number 3 since the big move down would have been April of 2015. But a lot of the similarities from the high, correcting in the sideways move in here, breaking the sideways move, this one a little bit different, but a lot of times the history does rhyme, but definitely never repeating itself. And let's move on next to the next coin. And we'll stick with short candles for this video. There's really nothing on Theta on the monthly chart other than some nice volatility. Let's take a look at the weekly. And from its open on Binance, straight down, sideways consolidation, most certainly major support established at 1168, major resistance established in the range of 1600 up to about 18 and a quarter, currently in at 25 and a third. Thus the previous week breaking out above the 18 average of highs. So far, showing a lot of signs of a very high productive pause week, because it's stayed most of its movement near the highs. It's barely pierced it above. It's above its close, and it hasn't went much below the previous week close. So very, very nice there. Looking next at the daily chart, it's to me just a nice productive uprise that is maintaining an uptrend of higher highs and higher lows and staying above this 18 average, still well overextended, in need of a price correction or time correction, but that doesn't mean it has to be now. It can continue this pattern for a decent amounts of gains moving forward, and I'll still be saying if it goes up to 3,500 or 4,000 or 6,000, it's in need of it. But that's just a matter of time. That it's the higher it goes, the deeper the correction usually becomes. That's another way of putting that out there. So this has been mainly a lot of fun selling, and I'll continue the fun selling as long as the uprise is in play. On its 4-hour term time frame, I'm not going to draw trend lines in, but obviously so active after this last move up to this previous high on the February 10th time stamp 4 days ago. Beautiful correctionary move back to that previous area. A little bit of correction, but after you do this, come to high, correctionary move back to previous high, and you're having your correctionary move again while holding 18, holding where it came from. Where it came from is about 24. That is super important. So far, it's doing it at 24 high. And if it lifts off from here, breaking above this resistance, that's by the book a great pattern when you have the low come in here, a retest of high, supporting the 18 highs average, and then breaking out above that. Just a nice looking pattern. Let's finish this off on the single hour. And upon its last correction from the high, it's dipped below the 18. No big deal. That's still correcting within it. 18 is flat. It's not declining, but because support has been established at 24.75, that if it does break down below that, then we can test some of those other areas that need to be maybe tested a little bit more. But we also have the 18 average of highs flat at 26.15. So that's the area it needs to break and hold clear above. Doing that, then it's a beautiful correctionary move. Because again, piercing below this like that, that's no biggie. As long as the 18 doesn't go in a negative downward fashion, it's still correcting within it. And when it goes down below it, especially straight down, it's due for a rally. So this is the rally from that down move, meeting up with it. So you're firmly now in the 18 and having a test within it, breaking down below this level. That's just going to mean this is going to start to decline. And you'd be thinking for certain at least a test of 24, but obviously could even go a little deeper than that. Now let's take a look at Komodo using short candles. This is a monthly chart with early volatility. Just hanging in there on this sideways consolidation, but I like this green candle, red candle, green candle formation, which means resistance we can see is established. 18 average of highs comes in at 33, which is one of the decent areas of this congestion area. As we now transition this into the weekly chart, all of these attempts of resistance, we can see doing yet another one currently, and that's just what it is. It's just screaming that it wants to attempt it, and like, okay, I hear you, now do it. And now we'll see if it does it. Amongst the daily term, it's just recently broken out above this level of resistance 3 days ago. Nice little follow through thus far in today and yesterday as I'm looking at it. Good decent volume. If there's any correctionary move, 18 average of highs is right now where previous level is, but the 20 number is the very nice must-hold area. It still has to get up close a bit more to get to previous high, and I don't want to do too much of this, but this little area here, just a bit of gain still needed. If not, it's about a 61.8, and that's fine too. But if it needs to correct, come in here, so be it. That's all fine and dandy. But because of the fact this is in a nice uptrend, if we have continuation moves over the next couple of days to this high of 26, I'd be not surprised. And then finishing it off within the 4-hour time frame, just a beautiful supporting of the 18 highs thus far, and a lot of these lines coming back down, which means, and I've been getting a decent amount of this myself, where it's selling buy, and I've been getting a sell buy, sell buy, sell buy, or just getting a lot of sell orders, buy orders back and forth, even over the last few days, because of those kinds of moves. But it's holding well above it, as we can see. Definitely can come down if it needs to. Again, that 20 number would be an area of a must hold. Let's take a look next at NLC2. And because it's hardly been trading on this exchange, weekly is just not even worth really looking much at. So we'll start off with the daily chart. And it's just a beautiful up and down, choppy, not really choppy, but just a good volatile up and down movements. As you had this great up run, great down run, great up run, very good correctionary phase back down to 282. Has came back to this previous high, but has pulled back a decent amount from 400 right now to 350, but it's meeting up still within this 18. If we need more correction within that area, so be it. Let's take a look at this on the 4-hour. And there was a lot of selling in this period here because we can see big volume within this last red move after you get to that situation that I don't like, as I've talked about. After you have a high, a good correction, and then you have a good move up to that previous point, how's it going to play out? After all, buying at this point necessarily wasn't a good play, although it still could work out to be so. But now we've had a decent correctionary move back down to this previous level of resistance area. And now how's the follow through going to come in? Because if this doesn't get above the 377 level soon, and it holds around 320, a little above that, like just barely below the 18 lows, it's just going to go flat sideways. And that neutralizes the uptrend. Then we'd probably getting some areas where we'll trade and establish resistance, maybe an area around 368 or something. And then, of course, if it breaks below it, well, we've already seen on the daily chart that it's still a decent amount can still come in, decline that is, without breaking its uptrend. Let's take a look at this on the single hour. And you can see the lower amounts of volatility as far as its price movement, and it's been over 2 hours. But just I want to finish this off by stating, when you see moves even like this, that means you see price action just having a decent amount of volatility, even as it is now. Then it's something that can give you decent amount of day trades. Might only be about 3%, 5% moves. They get really easy, but they become more available as you can see. If they can chop up and down, you can try to determine where resistance and support is, and then resistance is where I'd like to sell and support is where I'd like to buy. Okay, let's finish this off with a loop ring, and there's not much data in here. As we look at the weekly, there isn't that much. The daily chart, that's when it had this tremendous multi-day green candle up day. I think I'm counting, well, not counting in here, but starting in here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, a full week going up, and then multi-red down move, transitioning into a sideways move. But having a tremendous week, getting above the 18 average of lows, getting above the 18 average of highs, moving on to, and then these levels represent Fibonacci. So it has managed to, after just crushing the first one, going relatively quickly to the next one, where it was support, it resisted it for a little bit, but now it looks like it's possibly lifting off. And within the 3 consecutive green up moves, decent volume coming in. That's to be expected when you have decent breaks like that, because technically that's how it has to be done. There's a lot of orders that have to be filled. 1 hour time frame. It's showing great volatility as we had from midnight last night Eastern time, having a move from 1621 to 1543, following through with a move up to 1644, back down to 1570 on this red candle, then back up the next period up to 1630, back down to 1570, and now back currently at now a 4th hit period amongst this level high. More times you test these areas of resistance, the more likely it is you take it out. And as we just seen there, it looks like it has pierced it out maybe by 1 basis point or matched it at 1649. Well, now it's broken it at 55, and yeah, it was 48. So it's beaten it by 1 basis point. This can oftentimes mean that, I haven't looked at the 15.5 or the 1, that there's going to be a lot of action amongst those periods. So let's take a look next at the 15. And we see in here just from that midnight, how that beautiful up and down choppy action has created day trades for those not sleeping in North America, those working midnight shifts. As I remember working before back in the day, midnight shifts all the time with a lot of free time. If I could only have traded, maybe this would have been something I might have done. Of course, I would have gotten off of work at 7 o'clock, so I would have had to stop trading around in here. But what we're seeing, throwing that meaningless stuff aside, resisting, getting above this, a few periods up, this thing looks ready to go. Let's look at the 5. And for me, when I'm talking about, oh, if there's a clear break above something, that's when maybe you go long to buy something. It's not quite a clear break at 1655, but it's not far off. If it goes up another 10-15 basis points, then I would be really considering that that it's going to happen. While I'm here, I just want to explain technical analysis here, and I'm not going to put the 1 on. I'm going to need less candles to really explain what they mean, so you can get an understanding on the price movement if maybe you're not quite aware. We'll start off back in here. So the market opened that 5-minute period at 1593, and then it closed it at 1606. What meant over the next 5 minutes, the only people that would have traded at that exact same price. So they would have most likely bought it up, but it still could have been technically a sale. Now, when you see this line down here, what does this mean? Well, it means that somebody sold it. That there was the first trade that happened from this point to the next minute was somebody selling it down to 1593. And with the ask of 1606, that was pretty much just one trade, probably making one move. And then over this, I'm telling you, the market's hardly moved. So in this one, somebody would buy it up in here. And then such a big gap difference from here to here, like a gap open kind of deal. Well, 1596 was the last trade. That means the first trade during the 5 minutes was at the low end at 1610, and the last trade within it was 1613. And in this one here, this is interesting because what happened, and this is why I'm explaining it, because these were the two. Wow, how does that work out? Well, how it works out was just like in here where somebody would have opened buying at 1610 and closing at 13. Here somebody would have bought at 1638. It would have went up. They would have continued buying up to 1644, and then the last trade was 1640. But after that last trade, the next trade would have been selling it down to 1614. Of course, it would have been bought up to here and everything. And these 3 candles so far are looking relatively normal as far as its movement. But when you get volatility like this, you're going to throw away movements looking like this, and things will start to look normal again. Thank you for tuning in, and have yourself a great day. And look at that, nice little push up higher. By the time you watch this video, I'm expecting it probably should have already went over 17. Have yourself a great day. Bye-bye.